What are the important things to know about estate planning? Hi, my name is Cunningham and I would like to discuss the importance of estate planning. My clients always ask me, what is estate planning? I don't have enough assets. Why do I need an estate plan? And my answer to them is always, well, who's going to decide who gets what when you die? One of the most important things that we spend our lives building our assets, creating something there, and when we die, we like those assets to go to our family, to our children, our beneficiaries. Once a person dies, your family and your beneficiaries need to know what to do with your assets that you built up over your lifetime. You need to be able to have some sort of instruction, something, your wishes made known to your family so that they can distribute those assets. The executor of the will knows who gets what of your estate once you've passed away. The other side of the coin is that we've got creditors who may be looking for debts to be repaid, and they'll be hounding your family, especially at times of bereavement. That's the last thing one wants, is to have creditors on the phone every day looking for money when your family is still grieving the loss of a loved one. There are essentially three basic steps one has to have in your estate plan. First thing is to have a valid will. One has to make sure that will is valid, it's been signed, witnessed by independent people, and that it's clear and concise and tells the executor exactly what has to be done with your assets. Winding up an estate becomes a very complicated process, especially when things that, if you're no longer there, who's going to ask you, or who's able to ask you, what do we do with this asset, if you're not there to tell them, if you haven't actually specified what happens with those assets. The other side that we can have is what we call a letter of wishes. This is an extension of your will where you can specify certain personal items, maybe something that you've inherited from your parents and you want to pass on to your children, something of sentimental value, and you'd like to specify exactly where that particular asset has to go. We need to look at and say, is there enough money in your estate, liquidity, to pay off any debts? If you've run up huge debts while you've been alive, have you got enough insurance in place? Have you got enough assets that can be sold? Can those assets be sold easily and at the right market price to provide enough liquidity to settle any debts? And then finally, the last thing that we need to do is we need to minimize those expenses that we have in your estate. There are basically two major expenses that one would have to look at when one winds up an estate. The first one is estate duty. If your value of your estate is above a certain level, then the receiver is going to want an estate duty to be paid on those assets. The second one is a capital gains tax. Often when assets are sold, you trigger a capital gains tax liability, and then capital gains tax has to be sold. It's therefore very important to make sure that you have enough liquidity in your estate or life policies in place, that sort of thing that can be realized and can provide cash to the executor of your estate so you can pay those expenses, especially the taxes that have to be paid. And therefore it's very important to sit with your financial planner who can look at your entire assets and liabilities, at your whole balance sheet. What are your commitments? What do you have to pay? What have you got available to you? And what do you want to do with those assets? Those assets that you spent your whole life working for and trying to create and build up, make sure that they are distributed to your beneficiaries in terms of your will as inexpensively and with as little fuss as possible.